Chapter 434. Ace has found Blackbeard. We know from the cover stories that Ace was searching for him, but to have the chapter end off like this, where Ace says, "You hold up a minute, Blackbeard, I've been looking for you," while at the same time, Shanks and Whitebeard have crossed swords, and I'm guessing it's their hockey. Let me know if I'm saying that right. Their hockey is so strong that it causes the clouds, the very heavens themselves, to split apart. I said, how strong is Shanks? Wow. I gotta ask this now, okay? If Shanks were to fight a Nell, how bad would he take him, okay? How bad? Would a Nell need lube? Let me know. Or would Shanks just say, "I'm going in dry"? Let me know. Is it that bad, okay? Because when they cross swords and you see Shanks and he's got that big cup of wine and he just downs it and drops like the little bowl thing down and he's just like, "Okay, you won't call off your search for Blackbeard? Fine." And they cross the swords and you got Whitebeard saying, "You're 100 years too young to tell me what to do." Like it started off very civil. They're talking, exchanging pleasantries. And I'm like, okay, this is like two mafia bosses talking. Well, if you've watched like the mafia flicks, this is the point where the talks stop, okay? And everybody gets the guns out, like, "Oh, you. Like, that's what this was. Now I see why Shanks was able to walk on by himself, because he's a big enough badass where it's like he didn't need his own crew. And I like how Whitebeard says, "I remember you from being on Roger's ship. You were just an apprentice back then." And they talk about what happened with Buggy, and he says, "I think I've heard rumors that he's a pirate." And it's like, Buggy is fodder compared to Shanks. That much is clear. Okay, that much is clear. But at the same time, it makes you wonder, if Buggy stayed with Shanks, how much more powerful would he be? Would there be a situation like with what happened with Blackbeard, where Buggy would just hide and wait to make his move? Because Shanks' whole thing, he says, like, "Look, Ace has a lot of potential. A lot. But now it's not the time for you to pit these two against each other." And Whitebeard, I can respect what he's saying. He's saying, like, "Look, these men, these pirates, are part of my crew. I treat my crew like family. Those are my sons. The number one rule on a pirate ship is you cannot kill your crewmates. I can't let this stand. He's got to pay." And I totally understand. As somebody who is very big on loyalty, I totally understand why he takes that stance, okay? But I was not expecting this. Not at all. For Shanks, after he tells him, "I gave my arm for the sake of a new era," and Whitebeard says, "Well, if you've got no reason to regret it," I was not expecting them to cross paths like this. Like, and when you look at it in hindsight, it just makes sense that Oda decided to have this happen this chapter, because Shanks was able to come on and have his hockey all the way out, exposed. And it's like in Bleach, where if you have a weaker spiritual pressure, you automatically yield to the other person around you. And it's the same thing in Kenshin, where with the swordsman spirit, where like the person who has the stronger swordsman spirit is able to dictate the outcome of the battle. Like, it's something we've seen a lot in different shonens. And so for Shanks to be able to put a whole crew, a whole pirate ship basically, except for a few upper level people, to have them completely one shot, it lets you know that Shanks is that dude where if you have a bunch of fodder fighting in a room, Shanks walks in and just exposes a little bit of his hockey, and everybody, he says, "Cut this shit out," and everybody cuts out. It's like Big Daddy just walked in the room and everybody get out the way because this dick is swinging and you might get hit. Like, that's Shanks at this point, man. So very interesting. And now we got Blackbeard. Is Ace about to fight Blackbeard? And this is what's crazy about this, right? We know Shanks has some type of connection to Ace, because I'm guessing the person Garp said, like, "Hey, I entrusted him to watch over you guys," is Shanks. So Shanks was watching over Ace and watching over Luffy. And so if something happens to Ace, where does that put Shanks? And Shanks has a thing with Blackbeard. I'm guessing Shanks wants to deal with Blackbeard himself because of, Blackbeard gave him the cut. So this is interesting. This is interesting because we have different things kind of moving in. And just from a writing perspective, this is the thing. Oda, usually when we get different arcs, there's a transition period. But I said before, Oda just has it in cruise at this point. Oda has it in cruise. He's just kind of coasting through. And he hasn't let up off the gas. Like, we just had Luffy versus Rob Lucci. Enies Lobby is just fallen, and yet we're still moving at top speed. And the only thing I can think of is if an author is still writing as if he's in a climax, it means that we have not hit the climax for this part of the story. The arc might be over. Like, this part of the story might be over. But what's coming next? He's about to raise it up even higher. And so the fact that the base level for this new arc is continuing at the same pace that the climax of the last arc was at lets you know that something serious is going on. Like, I don't foresee a situation where Shanks dies against Blackbeard, not Blackbeard, against Whitebeard. I don't see a situation like that. I could maybe see Shanks and Whitebeard declaring war on each other because one of their men said they just start a war. So I could see that, but I'm guessing Luffy is going to be the catalyst for something because Blackbeard is hunting after Luffy. Ace, Luffy, they have the connection. Ace is probably going to fight him. Blackbeard's going to escape. They're not that far away from Luffy. Very interested to see where that's going, and like Oda's built in all these different things where Luffy has a connection with Dragon and with Garp, and now he has one with Shanks. And if Blackbeard starts mixing it up with Luffy and Shanks gets word of that, now that's basically two of his pseudo sons, basically. 'Cause I think that's how Shanks looks at Luffy and potentially Ace if there is that connection there. So if that's the case, what in the world is going to happen? Like, where does that put Shanks? And does that mean that Oda's going to be setting it up where Luffy is going to ally himself with Shanks? And how big of a player is Blackbeard going to be down the line? Because he basically has Shanks warning Whitebeard, he's the type of guy who will eventually come after you. And this is the type of character that when you look at them, they fuck around, they become the final villain. And so I'm wondering, is this where Oda's starting to kind of have it kind of creep through? If not, I could see a situation like in Naruto Shippuden where Blackbeard ends up just being Orochimaru, where Orochimaru was kind of teased and hinted, but he wasn't the big bad, he was just one of them. But he was a character kind of just stood there in the wind. You knew he was evil, and you knew he was used to push the plot ahead. But then we got so many huge guys that just blew him out the water in terms of impact on the story and power in general. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the case. But that's it for this review, guys. If you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching the end of the video. Have an awesome day, guys.